guys, I'm back with the second part to my video on 7 Night Dreamers beginner's guide for how to play 7 Nights Rebirth. And this is the second part to that video. I know the first video was like 25 minutes long, probably a bit more after this uploading. And I'm back here at the second part because my OBS crashed while recording of that first part around the 10-minute mark when it was going over stats and how they affect in combat, overall combat power. So yeah, I'm back with the second part to the video. This one might be another 25 minutes, I don't know, but my react had a lot of pauses in the first one, so this second one will have probably just as many, but we'll see. And so let's get straight into it.
How do these stat calculations
Let me turn down the volume a bit. Hold on a minute. Ooh. Yeah, that's loud. I'll go ahead and put it at 35.
work in battle? Assuming your character has 110% crit chance from gears and transcendence values. When in battle, this will be taken as 100% no matter how high your base crit rate is. After entering battle, your hero's passive activates and actually buffs crit rate by 20%, for example, but the enemy has a passive that decreases your crit rate by 30%. So overall, there is a minus 10% in crit rate, and this will be decreased from your base crit rate of 100%, equating to your final crit rate as 90%.
So you can have your crit rate reduced by 30% and leaving you at 90% crit rate after the actual crit damage loss. Well, crit rate loss, not crit damage, but yeah, you pretty much want to get 100% crit rate because you can't really go past that in terms of effective stats. I did joke about getting like 110% crit rate before, so you can mitigate it and just be left at 100%. But that's more like a meme idea, but it could be used, though it's not going to be that effective long term. It is a nice like early game kind of strat if you manage to be able to pull it off, but that's about it. But yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you had 130% crit rate in total and still had 100% crit rate even after the enemy debuffed you. So on that note, how can you push your crit rate back to 100%? There are two ways to do that. The first is applying active buffs. Your team will need a hero who can boost crit rate with a skill to compensate for that minus 10% decrease. The second way is to have a hero that passive buffs your allies' crit rate by at least 30% to
Okay, so you need to buff yourself at least 30 crit rate to mitigate the negative 30.
negate the enemy's passive of a minus 30% crit rate. In 7 Nights Rebirth, passive buffs and debuffs are denoted by their fully colored icons, while active buffs are mostly black with just a blue and red symbol. Passive and active buffs that buff the same stat can stack, but you cannot stack passives boosting the same stat.
Okay, yeah. In this part, you can stack crit damage if it's passive and active, but you can't like get two passive buffs stacked. It would only take the higher stat.
Only the passive with the higher percentage will take effect. With that, I hope I answered some of your burning questions and also explained the game to you even more. Moving on, I'll be sharing some tips that I think will be helpful in the early game. First, starting off with story push and nightmare stages. Story push is important because the further you are able to push in areas, the more efficient your ruby farm becomes. Very simply put, farming at a higher difficulty area like 14-1 will give you more experience to level up your fodders, leveling them up faster than farming at a lower difficulty area, for example 7-1.
Yeah, the usual get to the highest level possible to farm, and then in a game like these, in gacha games, you usually want to get a certain level up to get the good gear and good fodder resources at a next and then increase the level, and you can find the maximum drop rate at a earlier stage when having to go all the way to like the nightmare stages that he mentions here.
And if you are able to level up fodders faster, That means with the same amount of keys, you can level up more fodders in 14.1 as compared to 7.1, thereby earning more rubies at higher difficulty areas. At 14.1, you are basically farming at the highest possible efficiency of ruby farming.
It's like farming at level 45 in any Hoyo game. So in that case, you pretty much have the max level that you can farm stuff already.
So you'll want to reach area 41 as soon as you can to kickstart and maximize the highest efficiency of ruby farming. There is no further increase in efficiency for ruby farming beyond area 14 or even in Nightmare. However, you stand to have a shot at getting accessories and 4-star heroes if you farm in Nightmare. I will explain more in depth about ruby farming efficiency in my video exclusively on farming, so stay tuned for that. Clearing area 1430 will also open up Total War, which will give you access to Total War medals. Total War is considered an endgame content where you set up 2 to 5 teams and the teams will battle other players in the background.
Okay, this is like Aether Arena from Etheria Restart. You got defenders and they pretty much auto farm in the background to give you tokens for the arena for PvP, but in here it's more like another end game, but just gives you tokens so you can buy stuff, extra resources, so it's really nice.
You don't have to do anything for it apart from just setting up your teams, and it runs on auto. You can take these medals as a form of passive currency income, which you can spend on the all-important Brilliant Skill Enhancement Stone or even for more keys. This brings us to potential push teams that you can use to get to 14.1 or further. I expect that at launch, other than getting Ace and Rachel from the pre-registration rewards, players will also have access to the Teo banner for the first 14 days upon creation of the account. And this is great because Teo is the king of ruby farming and also pushing stages. Hence I expect that most teams would look something like this. Teo, Ace, Rachel, Evan and Yui. This should be the most achievable team.
If this is most achievable, then it should be easy. Because you get 2 pretty good starter characters from the pre-registration, so that's pretty good. Everybody's starting off in a good hand, pretty much. And with one of the best farming characters available to you for free, everybody should have a good start to the game when it comes to grinding almost immediately. And I have heard from my friend Progenics, and there is an original version of this game that I released back ages ago, and now this is the updated version of the game. So Re-Bierh, 7 Nights Re-Bierh is gonna be very fun. It's gonna replace Star Rail for me if it's good enough. I'm still skeptical about these Korean gacha games, as we've seen with Etheria Restart and Re-Memento White Shadow, both of which had potential as newer games. But I think that's also what hindered them, is being newer games. Whereas 7 Nights has already had an established past, and it's already a very popular game from its original debut. And this is a Re-Bierh, the new debut that's going to be for global. And I'm looking forward to trying it out. And it looks really good. And so I think it'll do well. It already has an established past, so CCs who already played the original version of the game will also be coming in for global. As myself, I haven't played anything related to 7 Nights. I've never even heard of it until recently because of Genix, so I'm looking forward to this, and I'll see how it goes.
If you do not get Teo in time, you can use heroes like Nia, Yuxun, Velika, Ruri and Ray as your farmer, and they are all available from the first multi in the special new player banner provided by the game.
Okay, so those are some reroll targets that you can get there. Yuxin, Nia, Velika, Ruri, and Ray are all gonna be good options.
Along the way, you may encounter some stages which require a more single target slaying strategy, as the enemies could heal themselves a lot, and
Okay, so you will also want single target DPSs for some stages. That's what I'm gathering from this. Like, there's a difference. There are AoE units and there are single target units. I think having a mix of the two on the team would be nice, but it's not like Hoyo games where you can just do that, like Hypercare with double support, and then you just blast away through the enemy. Now here it's more of a traditional like layout where you have a healer, a shielder, a debuffer, and a buffer, and then your DPS. And so it could be very interesting. I think you can do some strats where you put two DPSs in the team instead if they have enough supportive capabilities in their kit to accommodate for the loss of one buffer or debuffer. But you always want at least one buffer on the team, because a debuffer can be dropped for another DPS to have both AoE and single target damage in the same team. But you always want a defender and a healer, of course. And I think the pets can provide some utility there as well, so that's gonna be nice.
Possibly also have AoE heals. In these scenarios, a team that is more single target centric would do a better job. So you could employ Shane or Pascal, Ace, Rachel, Evan, and Yui. If you use Pascal, you can throw in Lucy as well once she is T6, because a T6 Lucy can allow Pascal's cooldown to be even shorter, making you kill those enemies faster. Or if you are lucky with summons or need a more tanky solution, this is also one of the best push teams. Shane or Pascal, Evan, Rudy, Lena, and Yui. I also
have to get used to all these characters and their names and which ones to put on which teams. Then again, as a new player to this 7 Nights series, I will have to get used to it. So I'm gonna play it for at least a month minimum. If I really like it, I'll keep playing it along with Do It Night Abyss when that comes out, and Wuthering Waves. But we'll see how it goes. I do plan on dropping Star Rail soon. After the new Donhong drops, I'll get him, build him, try him out, and then probably drop HSR after that. So we'll see what happens. I'm also not gonna play Honkai Nexus Anima. I heard of that came out, but I'm not that interested in it. It's their laziest attempt at making a gacha game by far. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I'll probably make a react video to Honkai Nexus Anima next as well, so we'll see in the near future.
remember some stages with enemies that have very heavy single target damage, and they gave me severe trauma. I think it was 12:30. So to deal with them, you can use Lee or Helena, depending on the enemy type, who are both tanks and they taunt.
So yeah, you can have double tanks in some instances. So there's also that.
But are completely immune to physical damage or magic damage, respectively, for a fixed duration. So your team will look something like that. Having a DPS, then a tank, Evan or Rudy, and then a defense decreaser, someone like Ace or Lena, and then Yui for extra healing, and Lee or Helena. Then
I think debuffing may be more important than buffing in this game, possibly, depending on the team setups. But yeah, having double defense in PvP, that's gonna be really good, because you can have one defender immune to magic attacks and then the other one immune to physical attacks. By having both of them there, the enemies are gonna have a hard time countering both at the same time, because they would need 2 DPSs to counter. So we'll see how that works out.
may also be some stages that require certain CC immunity. In those cases, you should use this chart as reference and swap them in where necessary.
Yep. The dot effects here. Okay. And then the usual PvP mechanics. Yeah, I mean, you got your dot status effects. You got deafen. You have silence. And you have petrify as well, paralyze, and stun.
In short, know your enemy. Click on strategy before entering the fight and see what your enemies can do and adjust accordingly. Moving on to the next topic, crafting and heroes. Under crafting, there is also an avenue to craft rare heroes with 3-star heroes. This, I would say, is a very important step to do as much as you can weekly, especially with high priority rare heroes like Evan, Yui, and all the other raid and immunity heroes. Having these guys reach T6 as soon as possible will give them a big upgrade to their skills, and at T12 they will get a big boost to their stats, which will help you ease into the next stage in adventure or even the next stage of raid or power up dungeon. So as much as you can, make sure you craft all the important rare heroes every week. You can leave out bobos like Sarah, Raccoon, Hokin, and so on until much later when you wish to strive for collection completion.
Alright, yeah, this part is really important. As I was saying in the part 1 of this video, I was talking about like how you're gonna get all the copies for the characters. It's gonna be rather rough if they didn't have an alternative way of doing that. So I was glad when I saw that you can just craft them. It really does mitigate the need for all the pulling, which really is nice. Of course, you still have to pull to get all those fodder characters that you can use to craft higher tier characters and their dupes. So yeah, that's a very nice system to have.
Then you also have the option of using 10 6-star rare heroes to craft a legendary hero monthly, or to save these 6-star rare heroes as materials for ultimate enhancing. In the early stage, I think it may not be wise to do the former. It is far more important for your key heroes to have a full 4-set equipment effect, as it is a big boost to their stats, and it will help you push story and raids a lot better. So I would advise prioritizing ultimate enhancing your important heroes first before considering the option of using 6-star rare heroes to craft a random legendary hero. Unfortunately, I did mine this month and I forgot to record, but I actually did get a Rudy from this. Along our journey, we will potentially get less useful legendary heroes. It is possible and maybe better to sacrifice these less useful legendary heroes to craft a better legendary hero. For example, sacrificing 3 useless legendary heroes allows us to craft a specific and better legendary hero that we may have a stronger need for, such as Shane, Espada Pascal for raid, Lina for heals, and Ruri or Taka for castle rush.
So yeah, there are multiple game modes in here where you might want to build varying teams. So there's a lot of characters to build. We're gonna need a lot of gold for this, but it should be good going forward. And this is like a more dupe heavy game, which is why they have like 12 dupe tiers that you have to have in the long term. But it is what it is. If T2 is like the minimum that you need to do anything, then it's a pretty good start off point. And you can just get more dupes later on for crafting, which is gonna mitigate any concerns people may have about how to get higher tier characters for PvP and whatnot.
Some of the
like FTP friendly to that extent, where you can craft the dupes instead. So that's really nice.
less important legendary heroes to list would be Ballista, Aragon, Chancellor, and maybe Spike. I would add Bidam, Valika, and Sylvester if their remakes still do not make them any better. So what if you already transcended a useless hero?
So characters will probably be rebuffed or readjusted when global launches, so we'll see how that works out. I have some hope for this game to do well. It's already an established game, so I don't think the devs would mess up that badly at global launch. Probably, but we'll see. I'm still skeptical.
Can you actually reverse it? Well, not exactly, but there is a way to get back all the dupes you have put in. I only learned this yesterday and I quickly inserted this into the video for you guys. So let's use this T2 Ballista and T0 Ballista as an example. Remember, a T2 Ballista is worth 3 copies in total, 1 base and 2 dupes. With that established, basically if you already have a transcended hero and a non-transcended hero, by using the transcended hero as fodder to transcend into the T0 copy, you actually get refunded with 2 Ballista dupes, while the base copy gets transcended to give you a T1 Ballista now. So overall in this example, we went from having just 1 T0 Ballista to 2 T0 Ballista. And of course this is only a small example, but imagine an even more highly transcended useless hero like my T3 Bidam. If I were to unluckily get a new Bidam, then I would be able to get back the 3 copies used, and that already equates to crafting 1 useful legendary hero of my choice. Moving on to raids, Iron Devourer and Ox King are the most important raids to quickly get to level 10. These raids drop important gear sets, with the crit and block set coming from the Ox King and the damage dealt and effect resistance set coming from Iron Devourer. Crit sets are very useful in the early game for damage dealers because you may not have the necessary support pets or transcendence levels or even good gear substat rolls to push your damage dealer's crit rate to 90% or above.
Excuse me, but yeah, anyways, crit stats are going to be important, and you want at least 83%. So it would seem. Sorry, I have sort of a bad cough right now. But I think if you can reach like 90% crit rate, if that's possible, like at least starting at like 85 crit rate, base chance is really good. Crit damage, you can have however how much crit damage you want after like 200. I'd say once you reach 200% crit damage, anything after that is whatever. But actually getting 100% crit rate and having like a good amount of base, because the enemies do take away 30. So if you have a buffer who can add 30 crit rate, it mitigates it. And so that's always good. 80 crit rate, 83 crit rate is good as well, but the goal is 90%. Once you've reached 90, and you have a buffer that maintains that 30% crit rate, enemies taking away 30% won't even matter, because it will be mitigated. However, negated.
Block sets are widely used for PvE support heroes and also in PvP, but less used recently as compared to the effect resistance sets, because in PvP now there are many CC heroes who do go first and instantly cripple the enemy teams. Like I mentioned before, the Eileen that goes first. The damage dealt increase set is the preferred endgame set piece for damage dealers, especially.
And your sets will also be important, and I'd say, as usual in these type of turn-based games, speed is king as usual. So, however much speed you can get that, but make sure you have the stats to back it up, because if you're fast and don't have the actual power behind it, it's useless. You can be as fast as you want, but you ain't got the damage. So being that fast or having underwhelming like effect hit rate doesn't help your situation, no matter how fast you are. Strength and power being balanced is the way to go every time. And besides, you can just get speed stats, substats, without having to go speed gear. Or you can go speed gear and have the substats that way. Either way, as long as you have both speed and power. And the key part is and. You want both, not just one. So that's always going to be the case.
Especially if you can ensure that their crit rate and weakness hit rates during battle are near or at 100%. Destroyer Gaze is less important as lesser percentage of heroes use sets from there. Key mentions would just be Yui, who can use the HP set but can also use the block set from the Ox King for better defensiveness but sacrificing a bigger healing amount. I personally also used to have the HP set on Lina to maximize her HP based healing capabilities, but she became a lot less tanky in PvE, so I eventually swapped over to the block set while still ensuring she has HP percentage stats.
Yep, always keeping the most important stats that you need. And pretty much it should be pretty good.
While on the topic of gears, in the beginning you may also have to be satisfied with equipping heroes with gears with less optimal stats first.
Yeah, as I was saying, stats over sets. So always focus on the stats first.
Rather than stubbornly waiting for a gear with great stats. Incremental upgrades will help you progress slowly but steadily, rather than getting stuck and hoping for a godly piece to drop, which could take a very long time. Trust me, been there, done that, not fun. Also, from a min-maxing perspective, always try to see if you can make it through the next tier for your raids before settling and spending your 3 daily extra raid drops. There is sometimes an event where there are 20 extra rate drops rather than the usual 3. Another thing to consider, since there is an unequipping discount currently and that gear presets are coming soon, is that rather than upgrading gear from scratch, put together your best pieces on a hero, and if that situation allows, swap gears between heroes to achieve the best outcome at a far lower cost.
Okay, so what is recommended here is like rainbow gear from like any other Hoyo game, and when it comes to like gear overall, not just Hoyo games, but any game, even Wuthering Waves, you can do that like rainbow set gear. Well, not so much in Wuthering Waves, more like Star Rail, where you can have like one piece from this set and another piece from that set, and it has the good stats. Because as long as it has the stats, you want to use it. And unlike Hoyo games, here in Seven Nights, you do have loadouts incoming. Something Hoyo refuses to do, but Seven Nights will do it anyways because they recognize the need for such things to be added, as it only boosts the player experience. And with that kind of actual loadout system going there, you can just swap it around, which is quite handy, like he said, and it's really gonna be a good time for people who are farming sets, have really good stats, but that set is off piece. And it's like, okay, so you have like 4 or 5 off pieces, and you want to use them without tossing them because they're really good in terms of stats. You would just use that anyways, and somebody else mix and match the pieces over time until you have the right sets for that other character that needs it, and then you're eating good. When you've saved some grind as well, so you didn't waste too much gear. Of course, there will be some fodder gear where you'll have to toss it out anyways, but that's a given. But also, you can always save those off pieces for like future characters, so that's always going to be nice to check out. I don't know if these gear come in 5 pieces or 4 pieces with this one extra slot here, but we'll see when the game comes out.
Of course, this is assuming that the unit you are swapping gears onto also benefits from the same gear substats. I personally picked up on this very late because gear presets have not been a thing, so it was incredibly troublesome and messy to be swapping gears. But the developers have mentioned that gear presets are coming into the game this week, it seems, and that will really change the way how gears can be handled. So it can also help you conserve your gold if you can simply build a minimal amount of good sets and swap them around your heroes until you have better pieces and can afford to upgrade them. Next, tips for Power Up Dungeon. In the early game, there will be tons of heroes that you need to build. There will be a shortage in elements to build your heroes. You should buy out all grades of elements that you see in the general shop that cost gold.
Okay, now when he. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm gonna let him play it for a bit.
Even now, I still do that on my account. And as for those that cost rubies, that's gonna depend on how desperate you are and how near you are getting 50 of the element type for rank up. There is also the option to fuse elements to a higher grade or dismantle.
Okay, so when he means elements, he means like elemental stones here. These boost the character ascensions to an extent. So I'm guessing you're gonna need a ton of these over time for each element. The dark element, light element, and rock. Defense, magic, and okay. Now there's separate categories. Here's debuffer. I think this is healer. This is defenders, a mage, and attackers, melee fighters, I guess. So they have their own types of crystals that you need to farm as well to rank them up, and you want to buy them out from the shop every week, and so that's part of it. You can also fuse them, but you'll always want to have some left over for every hero that you want to upgrade, and don't rush into using all of them to max upgrade one character because you're gonna have to level up multiple characters. So having multiple of these elemental shards here ready for use is always a plus.
dismantle it to a lower grade. I would recommend not dismantling high grade to a mid grade in the early stages until you can get a stable supply of high grade elements.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, like you're saying, don't like dismantle these into the smaller levels to upgrade the characters faster when you can just accumulate it over time. And when you reach like further closer to the end game, like intermediate end game levels, then you can start doing this when you have a good supply pretty much and just don't have to worry about them running out.
Those are harder to come by as they require you to clear your higher levels of power-up dungeons, which may not be so easy at first. Daily, you can get 2 Pookie tokens for your power-up dungeon entry. However, as mentioned in my currencies video, there is also the option of buying more with rubies, but with incremental costs up to 3,750 rubies in a total for 10 additional runs per day. So if you are truly desperate and don't mind spending rubies for faster early progression, this is an option. Again, it is not a must to buy them. Even for myself, I have only done this once in my 4 months of being free to play. Pookie tokens can also be spent pushing gold dungeon, but I don't think that should be a priority in the early game. You can earn gold via many other ways, and the same cannot be said for elements. Next up, PvP. As mentioned in my currency video, participating in Arena will earn you medals of victory no matter whether you win or lose.
Okay, just like in a Furia restart, you do want to play PvP to gain some resources here and there. Whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you participated and actually get resources from doing so.
And these medals are essential for buying important items like your brilliant skill enhancement stones, keys, and hero summon tickets. So try your best to run arena rounds as frequently as you can. There is no limit to how many arena tokens you can earn daily. As a free-to-play player, I find that having the mindset of running arena for currency rather than for higher ranking being very important.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's my go-to idea of when it comes to PvP as well. Don't try to be number one when it comes to the PvP content, as you won't be for long. Once you reach top 1 as FTP, the whales, once they're fully locked in and ready to go, once the whales are there, they're there to stay. So don't expect as an FTP to stay at number 1 spot for more than like one patch, 1 or 2. It's a give or take on that end, but yeah, you won't last too long.
Higher arena ranks will eventually come once your heroes are more duped out and your gears get better.
Focusing on resources first is more important because dupes are accessible to everybody in this way, unlike a Furia who did it poorly because they focused too much on the gacha aspect. When in reality, you could just get dupes for crafting, like in Seven Nights. I think that's what's gonna make Seven Nights stand out quite substantially from the likes of Euphoria and Memento Shadow, who most people don't even know its existence. So it is what it is. But since Euphoria is more popular, I'll bring it up here. This is the game that's gonna kill Euphoria restart, to be honest. Not that Euphoria already killed itself, so it is what it is. So, yeah, Seven Nights is gonna be the game. It's gonna be that turn-based game. Lucky, it's gonna come out, and not many people are gonna know about it at first. But I'll be playing it here first, so you guys will see how the game is and how interesting it is. Also following like 7K Dreamer, and it's gonna be interesting. I do have access to that spreadsheet. The spreadsheet for 7 nights. So I'll also be using that in gameplay as well. So that's gonna be fun.
What's more important now are the materials that the currency gives access to. And last on the list of tips is the topic of resource management. These could appear like little things, but they make a big difference. So firstly, be mindful of collecting your key rewards. If you collect over your maximum capacity, your key regeneration timer stops.
Okay, yep. Okay, so when it comes to recharging and stamina here, overcapping in this game means you won't have any more stamina regen at all doesn't go past a certain point. Once you have over 395, your maximum capacity, if you surpass your current maximum, you won't have any more regen because it pauses the timer until you use up the excess amount. So you have to make sure you use that that stamina daily. You don't want to let it overflow in this game. This is one of those gachas where you play daily to make sure that you've used up all the stamina daily. Otherwise, you won't have any more space
until you have space for it again. So if you only have a capacity of 100 keys but end up collecting 300 keys, you're going to need to take time to spend it down under 100 before.
I'd say you can have like 2 days. It depends on how long it actually takes to regenerate the keys. Because you can buy keys as well as for reserve, but how many you end up using is dependent on how active you are in the game. So, yeah, just make sure that you're mindful not to overcap in this game. Reducing overcapping as much as possible has never been more important than in this game.
Your key regeneration can resume, and this means daily key loss, and for each key lost means ruby lost. Remember, rubies equal keys and fodders. This leads us to the buying of key bundles with rubies. From the research done by my friend Castell, you can and should buy out these packages of key bundles. The first set of 20 packs costs 50 rubies each, while the second set of 50 packs costs 80 rubies each. This totals up to 5,000 rubies set aside just for keys per day. Based on very detailed calculations, which you will see in the farming video soon, there is no loss in rubies even after buying these out, as long as you are spending them on farming. Along the way, you may accumulate a large number of common and uncommon hero tickets. This is actually good. These are fodders stored in another dimension. So only use them to get fodders when you need, rather than using them immediately when you get them, as they do take up space in your hero inventory. Last of all, in the early game, there is likely to be a gold shortage from all the hero enhancing, hero fusing, ranking up, and the biggest culprit, gear upgrading. In these cases, nightmare stages give a lot of gold per round, but if you have not reached that stage, you can consider buying the 9,999 stacks of gold in event shops from story events. These are easy gains because event stages give the most experience per round, which makes them very worth farming for, not just for experience, but also for the event currencies, which you can then convert into gold and other perks. Just take note that the downside of farming event stages is that you don't get any fodder from these event stages, so eventually you will run out of fodder to level up. So this circles back to the point I made earlier about having sufficient common and uncommon hero tickets stored for this purpose. One final thing for those who intend to spend, I actually have an idea of making a video to break down all the various packs in the game, but I'm going to need some time to do that. Regardless, if you can afford to spend just under 30 USD, then consider buying the subscription packs because these seem to only add up to about 15 USD based on the Korean won conversion to USD, but I cannot be sure of the exact amount.
Okay, so this part is more like, okay, if you want to spend, you do the usual. I'm going to get for the battle pass and monthly passes. That's about it there if you want to low spend on this. And any like 99-cent packs where they give you a character or something like that, close in terms of value. Like that's when you want to get resources in that way. But other than that, it's usual whale territory. So that's as far as that would go, and that will be the end of this video. Pretty much, the rest is just extra talk about whale shops here. So I'm pretty much done here. This is the second part, and of course I did record this the day after because OBS did crash. So yeah, if that's said, I'm done with this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.